I have passed my driving test. Well, it only seemed like yesterday that I was stood in this very spot with this very car, saying how I was about to turn 17 and how my whole learning adventure was about to commence. Well, here I am stood on a very, very, very cold, snowy and icy day in January with a driving licence in my pocket, because I can't believe it, I passed my driving test first time with only 3 minors. I also passed my driving theory test in October. This is how long I haven't kept you updated for. But I am on the roads now. I'm fully insured, taxed, I'm legal. I'm fully legal out on the roads, and I have been absolutely loving every mile in my very own Fiat Panda 100 HP. I just can't believe I'm saying that here on this channel and just in general, because regular viewers will remember we got this car 3 years ago, and it was during the first lockdown. I was 13 years old, and I was saying how I can't wait to turn 17 to drive this car. So, the Fiat Panda 100 horsepower, Paolo, what is it like? It's tremendous, really nice. And it felt like an absolute lifetime away. Well, here I am now. It feels like it's been no time at all, and I am driving this car. I cannot believe it. So, in this video, it's a bit of a late video, I'm not going to lie. I should have done something like this weeks and weeks and months ago, keeping you updated the whole learning journey, but I haven't because I've been so busy. Well, in this video I'm going to make up for it, because I'm going to explain my whole learning journey, my plans now I've got my driving licence, and my top tips to any of you learners out there. But if you'll excuse me, now I've got the driving licence, I think we should go out for a drive. A, because it's very fun, and B, because it's blooming cold. Well, I can't believe this is happening, really. I don't know how stable the phone mount's going to be, because obviously this driving content is very new to the Daniel Drives channel. The last time this mount that I'm using now was used was when I was reviewing the Citroen Ami back in August 2021, so quite a while ago. So if it's shaky footage, then I do apologise, but hopefully the sound's okay because I've got my microphone on. But I can't tell you how wrong and how illegal it feels, me being out driving, talking to all of you on YouTube. It just feels so wrong still, and I've been driving for nearly 2 weeks, and still every time I start the car and I go out, it still feels very, very wrong, like I shouldn't be doing it, but I can. I've got my licence. This is a thing it's gonna take a long time for it to sink in, but I am fully legal on UK roads. It just hasn't sunk in yet. So let's find some open road and I'll explain to you everything that needs explaining, because icy road, there's a lot that needs to be explained. So first of all, what is it like to drive this car? What is it like driving a Fiat Panda 100 HP as my first car? Well, pretty astonishing is what I'm going to say. It's a pretty amazing car no matter what age you are, but when you're 17 and it's your first car, to have this is pretty cool. And I do realise that people are constantly messaging me on Twitter saying, you know, that's a pretty cool car, you better not bend it. And I'm like, I know how special this is of a car. I absolutely adore it. So it's pretty surreal to have one as a first car. It's the way it handles, it's the way it sounds, it's everything. And yes, it's an Italian car, yes, it's a Fiat. People always think it's going to blow up and everything, and to be honest, I'm going to disagree with that. Yes, it's had a few of its faults, but that's mostly age related. So as a car to own, seriously, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I just know that the next few years with this car, and who knows, maybe the rest of my life with this car, is going to be pretty cool. Really, really cool. And I honestly cannot wait for the absolute bucket loads of memories that I'm going to have in this car. And I really hope that I can take you along as the viewers too, because I've got loads planned in 2023. Next weekend I'm heading down to Caffeine and Machine, and that's because we're organising a little Fiat Panda 100 HP car meet. So by the time this video's out, I think you might still be able to get tickets. So if you do want to come along to Caffeine and Machine, then head over to their website. Saturday the 28th of January, I believe, about 11 AM. I think we're going to aim to get there. Lots of potholes in the road. That's something I'm not grateful for. So really excited for that. I've also booked tickets for the Bicester Scramble in April. My first ever scramble, and I'm really excited to do it. Festival and exceptional. I need to get my tickets for that too. I've just got so many plans, and now I've got my license, and I'm not having to drag around my parents and you know just people to act as drivers basically. I can just do whatever I want. I can wake up any morning and go, you know what, I'm going to go here, and I really love that. It's a genuinely exciting thought. So there's a bit about the car. I need to talk to you about my whole learning journey really. So turned 17 on the 29th of September of last year, 2022, and I had my first driving lesson on that day with my driving instructor. His name was Dave, and he had a Mini Cooper S, John Cooper Works. That's a pretty cool car to learn in. And yeah, it went really well. I had 11 hours of tuition from Dave. I think most people have about 40, I had 11. And I think the reason for that was I did so much practice in this car with my parents. I also did it with my granddad as well. So that's my first tip to anybody learning, is get some learner insurance on a car that's suitable for a learner driver, and just get out on the roads and do some practice, because that is the important thing. It's just like a GCSE exam, just like an A-level exam. You cannot do that exam without revising at home, and it's the exact same with a driving test. You cannot do that driving test without practicing at home in your own car, or rather, on the roads, not at home. You can't really drive around in your house, can you? So, oh God, I didn't count how many hours I did in this car, but I can tell you for certain it was a lot. Trying to think, what did I do? I think one day I drove about 50 miles or something. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to admit that maybe not every lesson was a lesson, and it was mostly just an excuse to, give the Panda a razz around some lanes. But I definitely learned a lot. And I think driving kind of became second nature from that moment, because I was out at every opportunity I had, simply driving. And it's a lot of fun as well. A lot more fun than revising for a GCSE exam. So I'm stuck behind a Honda Jazz. That's a situation update, but it's okay, not the end of the world. I will tell you about my theory test. So I did the theory test in October, half term it was, so I can't remember the exact date. It must have been sort of the 24th of October, 25th, something like that. And that went really well. So I revised using the James May Theory app, and I'm going to recommend that. That really helped. I didn't use a single book. Literally for my revision for the theory test, I used the James May app, and actually I used TikTok as well, which a lot of people will laugh at, but there's some genuinely insightful content on TikTok when it comes to learning how to drive. There's driving instructors doing live videos where they're going through stuff like road signs, and I think stuff like that, when you're sat on the toilet, for example, really helps. It's a good use of your time. So yeah, the theory test, I did it in Crewe, at the Crewe Centre, and I was very nervous on the day of the theory test, really nervous, because it was like the first kind of hurdle that I needed to overcome to book my practical test. So I did the theory test, and it went okay. One thing I didn't realise I could do, that I was really happy I could, was go through all of my answers at the end of the theory test, so I could go over all my answers and double check that they're correct. I actually found me changing a few of my answers at the end of the test, because as I did the test, some knowledge kind of came back to me. It was kind of like memory recall. So I did the theory test, got my results, and it was a pass. I got 44 out of 50 on the multiple choice, and on the hazard perception I got 55 out of 75. I can't remember exactly, I'll have to get the certificate. I'll put it on some B-roll. But yeah, the theory test was fine. So I did the theory test, and then I could book my practical test. Now, there's quite a big delay for practical tests, and that is because of coronavirus. There's a massive backlog. So I was looking at a test date for March. Now you can get dropout tests, and that's basically people that book the test and then something happens, or maybe they can't make it anymore, so they give up that test slot and get another one, and you can basically jump in there and get that test slot. And there was one for the 28th of December, but I left that too late, and by the time I got back to it, it was booked, so I was quite angry about that. So ended up with March, ended up with a bit earlier in March, and then I ended up with the 10th of January. Now the 10th of January would be the day I did my test, because myself and my instructor both agreed that it was a good time to do it. It gave us plenty of time to, get really confident that I had a chance of passing. Because there's no point in doing the test if you're not confident you're going to pass, because it's expensive, really expensive, because you're paying for 2 hours of your instructor's time plus the test. So it's over £140 in my case to do the test. And then the same if I were to do it again. So the 10th of January, how did that go? Well, 2 weeks before the 10th of January, I had sleepless nights. I was really stressed, and just overall my mood was really downbeat. And it was because of nerves, because driving is something that I've been waiting for all of my life. So to have the opportunity was, I couldn't believe it. I really didn't want to fail, because I felt like I was letting myself down. And this was an interesting thing as well. I purposely kept my driving test quiet on social media, because I've got a pocket-sized following on Twitter and Instagram and here on YouTube, and I kind of had the impression I didn't want to let you guys down by failing. So I kept it quiet, because I thought if I fail, nobody will know except me and friends and family, and I can just rebook it, and then I can announce on social media when I've passed. It turned out I did pass, but I didn't think I had, because I did the test, and there was one or two things that I thought were failures, because, first of all, it was an amber weather warning, which didn't help, so visibility wasn't great. So I remember braking last minute for a pedestrian on a zebra crossing, and really icy road here, and a runner's just very nearly slipped over on a face. What was I saying? Yeah, the man on the zebra crossing, braking last minute, I thought, oh dear, I failed this. But it turned out no, because I reacted and I did brake, that showed that I was aware. If I wouldn't have braked, I would have failed, because I wouldn't have stopped for this man on the zebra crossing. There was another thing, I was quite hesitant on a roundabout, so I thought, oh dear, that's not going to be good. It's going to maybe show my lack of confidence or something. But no, it was fine. That came back as a minor. So yeah, 3 minors in total. I can put B-roll again what the exact 3 minors were. And at the end of the test, my examiner, who was okay, he was a nice guy, but because he was my examiner, I was terrified of him. He said, okay, Dan, would you like your instructor here for your results? So I said, yeah, okay. I was thinking in my head that, I'd failed. So I thought, if my instructor hears what I'd done wrong, then we can work on it for my next opportunity to, do the test. So my instructor Dave came over, and my examiner said, well, I'm really happy to say, Dan, congratulations, you passed your test today. And I was like, what? In my head, I was like, how the hell have I done that? I didn't believe it. I seriously didn't believe it. And I think I went a bit speechless for a while. Just because I realised that all of a sudden my life had just gone from here to up here because of the freedom. So I got home, told my mum, I had loads of people to phone and share my news with, and then we sorted out the insurance. Now I need to explain the insurance, but before I do that, I'm going to pull over and change the camera angle. Where can I pull over? Still very alien filming while driving, it really is. I'm going to pull over here. It's really icy out today, I've got to be careful. Right, so trying a bit of a different camera angle. This is a kind of POV shot. It's quite cool. So we'll set off again, and then I'll tell you about insurance. So, phoned up a few companies. So phoned up one, and it was the insurance company that my dad is insured with. And we thought, well, just going to see how much it is, to add me to his policy. Now, obviously, adding me to my dad's policy would mean I don't build up my no claims bonus. But we thought if I did that for a few years, by the time I'm 20 or something, it will be lower anyway. So we'll just make that first few years a bit more bearable financially. So we rang them up, and they wanted £4,000 to add me to my dad's policy. So swiftly, we put the phone down, Fiesta, and we phoned up a few more insurance companies, and eventually we settled for one insurance company who quoted £1,600 for the year. The reason I'm saying all these finances is because people are genuinely interested, and I'm happy to help, because these cars aren't the cheapest as a first car, but it's not as crazy as some people might imagine. So £1,600 for the year, and that's 8,000 miles per year, fully comprehensive insurance with a black box. I'm not sure if you can see in that corner there. If not, then I'll put some B-roll in. Now that black box, I can't even say the word blocks. That black box I was worried about because I thought it's going to take all of the fun out of driving. But no, because whereas most black boxes track harsh acceleration, harsh cornering, harsh braking, that black box does not. Two things it tracks: mileage and speed. So it'll track if you go over your annual mileage, so 8,000 miles. That's unlikely for me, really, for what I'm doing. And also speed. It will penalise you to an extent if you go over the speed limits. Now, there was one day where I did accidentally go over a few speed limits, and it was interesting to see how it reacted. So every day it gives you sort of a previous day drive summary, and it'll show you a map of everywhere you've been, and in most places it'll be green, you've been following the speed limit. In some places it'll be orange, it'll say warning, you need to slow down. And in some places it'll be red and it'll say unsafe driving. And if you have 3 days of them unsafe driving, then you will lose your insurance policy. So it's quite, it's quite a big deal. And I think it gets your mind in gear that you need to follow these speed limits. And someone like me, it's unusual for a first driver, I don't really see the appeal in speeding. I just like driving. A bit of speed can be nice as long as it's within the law. But I get all of my fun out of cornering, especially in this car, because it handles so nicely. So I'm all right with this black box, actually. It doesn't offend me too much. So I've got the insurance. Road tax is about £250 for the year. I think really the biggest issue is petrol. So I've been averaging about 35 mpg, and when you've got a 32 litre fuel tank, it feels like you're constantly filling up, and I think that hurts a bit when petrol's like £1.45 a litre. So I'm praying it's going to drop, but I think with the current economic situation it's a bit unlikely, but oh well, it's not the end of the world. So that's kind of my learning journey, I guess. I tried to keep it relatively brief. Now, some of you may know that I am a motoring writer on a website platform called Motorcord. Now you can visit Motorcord on motorcord.co.uk. I can leave the link in the description. And I write a weekly article about anything car related on my mind. Well, I documented all my learning journey on Motorcord because throughout the winter, obviously it's dark in the evenings, and when you're at college every day, and it's difficult to get out there and film a YouTube video. And yes, I could film videos from my bedroom, but I'd prefer to do it out and about just because I think it looks prettier. It's just nicer on the eye in a video. So I have documented my whole learning journey in detail on Motorcord. So if you go to motorcord.co.uk, find my name, and then you can read, I think I did 5 articles about learning to drive, and that includes a massive guide on the theory test. So if you're currently learning how to drive, or it's approaching, or maybe you've been driving for 50 years and you're interested to see what it's like in today's world, then have a read at some of the articles I've done, because I've done a lot on there, and hopefully it's either interesting or useful to some. I'm hoping so anyway. So this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Daniel Drives has gone up a level because now I can drive, and Daniel really is driving, which I find really weird to say. 13-year-old Daniel washing his Panda on the driveway every weekend would not have believed that this day would have ever came. But it's here, and I could not be happy about it, seriously. God, the amount of snow and ice about, it's ridiculous. Whoa, just a slip of traction. I've got to be really careful. So obviously this past few mornings in Britain, or the past few days really, it's been really snowy and icy, especially if you're in Cheshire. And it's been interesting, I'm not going to lie, because I take my brother to his high school, and some mornings I've been taking my dad to work, and you know, a week on the road and then driving in snow and ice, you know, it's definitely an experience. It's definitely an experience. I mean, you can probably see it. Look, the road is just white, because that was snow, but now it's just turned into ice. And the Panda does not have traction control. So it's definitely interesting. But I've learned a lot about car control, put it that way, because there's been a few slidey moments, let's say, and it's been interesting to learn how, you know, cars are, you know, balanced and how they handle. And I think the main thing really is to keep your distance in these conditions, because, oh my word, the minute you try and put any power down, the car's squirreling about. And good luck braking in these conditions as well. Gosh, you can really feel it. I was hoping actually in this video I'll be able to give it a little bit of welly, just so you get a bit of that 1.4 grunt, but it's looking unlikely, I'm not going to lie. But that just gives me an opportunity to come out again in a couple of weeks and film another drive video, because there's going to be plenty of these sort of driving vlogs. So I think we should pull over somewhere and do a bit of an outro, because I think this is turning into a bit of a documentary. So there we are then, a really overdue video explaining my entire learning journey, and a bit of a celebration really that I can now drive this very car. And rest assured, this is where the proper content starts, because obviously next weekend's Caffeine and Machine, there's Bicester Scramble, there's Festival and Exceptional, and that's just the events. You know, there's going to be just drive videos, there's just going to be just videos of just enjoying this car and enjoying cars in general. So I really hope that you'll join me on this journey by subscribing to Daniel Drives and following me on social media at DanielCars05 whilst the Volvo drives by. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.